Let's go! It's gonna be a football game tonight now. No doubt. It's gonna be a football game here. Okay. I done been here before. All right, let's go, baby.
Play clock at 5. Pass is intercepted at the goal line by Malcolm Butler. Unreal.
And the Ohio State Buckeyes are the first national champions of the playoff era.
Ladies and gentlemen, football to football.
Your host, Sean Garmer, Gary Vaughn, and Randy Isbell.
Hi, yes, welcome to our second Football to Football special. This time we are previewing the NFL season, and man, it's time. We are less than a few days away from being able to talk about an actual NFL game that matters on Thursday night. We've got some, where we get to talk about somebody that got lucky and got a decision made in his favor so he can play on Thursday night. And of course, we're not doing this alone here. We have a guest, and hopefully, we got two guests right now, and hopefully another one that's going to show up at some point here. One of them you heard if you listened to the college football preview. But I am your host, Sean Garmer, and with me, as always, are my two co-hosts that I could not do this show without, Mr. Gary Vaughn and Randy Isbell. How are you guys doing?
I'm awake.
That's a plus.
Yes.
Yeah, it's only 9:40 where you are. You can't complain, Randy.
I have been doing fantasy drafts all day long. I'm tired.
Oh, okay.
I did the one, for the podcast, and before that, I did my big money league out of town. So it's been a lot of looking at books and a lot of trash talking. It's tiring.
Consider yourself lucky, Randy. Instead of doing fantasy drafts in the air condition, I've been outside in the hot Texas sun sweating out moving stuff for friends. So I do envy you.
Well, it is one of those things. But, you did mention it, Randy. We did finish our Football to Football, podcast Fantasy Football League draft just now, about, let's say 30 minutes ago. You had the last pick. Gary had, I think, the 9th pick, and I had the 2nd pick. I messed up and probably should have gone running back and around the 3rd round instead of receiver, but I think other than that, I did okay. How do you think you did, Randy?
I actually really liked how it worked out for me. Went running back heavy for the most part, Forte and Morris and Gordon, and got Julio Jones. Kind of iffy on the quarterbacks, but got Eli and Sam Bradford, so that kind of works itself out. And I like that I got some depth to it, and especially for when you're playing 14 teams and you get the last pick, you're always concerned at how things are going to fall to you because you have so many picks in between your two, but it worked out all right.
What do you think, Gary?
Yeah, I mean, it's kind of funny. Me and Randy drafted very similar when it comes to at least drafting deep and running back. I got Le'Veon Bell, number, the 9th pick. I was also lucky enough to get Lamar Miller, and basically I got Jonathan Stewart as my 3rd guy. We do have that flex position of play, so I'm very happy with those guys. And I got a few other guys to kind of put some depth on that roster. I also got D'Angelo Williams to help me while Bell's out. Got Gurley, which I hope he has a great year. Being as this is a keeper league as well, Sean. I'm very happy that I got some young depth too that I could possibly be keeping for quite a while. Didn't really get too good at receiver. I mean, I got D'Angelo Hopkins, got like a lot. I got a few other guys that are maybe a little bit more risky, but I'm thrilled to have Matt Ryan as my quarterback.
Yeah, you stole him from me. I wanted a double dip. You're terrible.
I get to double dip a little bit here with Roddy White as my receiver as well.
Well, the thing that we all have to deal with now is that these lineups that's what we got to deal with for this entire season. But if you play on DraftKings.com, you get to pick a new team every week. So even though your season-long fantasy football lineup is locked in and ready for action, but you don't have to wait until Week 16 to get paid, guys. Put your fantasy skills to the test starting Sunday at DraftKings.com, America's favorite one-week fantasy football site where you could kick the season off by winning $2 million. It's the biggest fantasy football contest ever. $10 million in prizes are up for grabs, including $2 million for first place and $1 million for second. 1 week fantasy means no season-long commitments. It's fantasy football on demand. Play where you want, when you want, and the most important part is you get to pick the players that you want. No drafting, none of that stuff. And turn your love of football into a life-changing payday. Just pick your players, pile up the points, and pick up your cash. That's it. You've never experienced football like this. This isn't fantasy as usual. This is DraftKings.com. Welcome to the big time. Hurry to DraftKings.com now and use promo code SPREAKER, SPREAKER, to play for free for a short shot at part of $10 million in Sunday's Millionaire Maker event. Enter Spreaker for free entry now, only at DraftKings.com. That's DraftKings.com. I stumbled through it, but I think I made it, so it's all right.
Yeah, great job. I like it.
I had it down when we were first supposed to do this about 40 minutes ago, and then, things happen, and it gets kind of rusty when you haven't been sitting here reading it for a while, but yeah, so now that we got that out of the way, let's get this show on the road. We now have another caller in. It's not the guy I was waiting on, but it's somebody you've also heard if you've been listening. Two of these guys you've heard already if you've been listening to our coverage of, previewing the divisions week by week. First of all, I got to introduce a Buffalo Bills fan and someone that, you heard a couple days ago, and, if you want to go by football, this guy knows it all. Mr. Brandon Clapp, how are you doing?
Doing excellent, man. Glad to be here on again. Thank you very much.
Oh, always a pleasure. One of the writers at the sportsjunkiefix.com, am I right?
Yes, sir. And
Okay.
Danger Zone Boxing Talk on Facebook, the best boxing page on Facebook. If you like boxing, check us out.
There you go. I know there are a few people that listen to us that are big boxing fans, so you need to go join that page. And joining us, they may not be here the whole time, but at least they'll help us out here for a little bit. You heard him talking about his Eagles on the NFC East division preview. Anthony Rue, how are you doing, man?
Sean, I'm doing great. I had a great week up until this weekend when I needed that moment of silence because Philadelphia Eagles have released Tim Tebow, and I was completely devastated.
Oh, man. Well, hey, you know what? I understand. If you bought a Tebow jersey and now he's not going to be on your team, that's just totally demoralizing. I can understand that one. I was kind of upset a little bit about it, too. I wanted to see Tebow get to shine again, but
Yeah, support.
Chip Kelly went as far as to say he wasn't good enough to be their third-string quarterback. I thought that was kind of messed up. I thought he could have handled that a little bit better with the media, but it is what it is. I guess he's a straight hitter.
And I'm not going to sit here and say the guy made fantastic plays during the preseason, but you got to give it to him against the Jets. He did make plays that say, hey, he could win at least a third-string job, and that was really, shocking. But with Chip Kelly, anything can't be shocking enough.
Well, also joining us in what seems like happened forever ago, honestly, when he was around talking about his Ravens for the AFC North division preview, Mr. Robert Hagan. How are you, man?
I am wonderful. How are you guys doing tonight?
Doing okay. Well, just in case you don't read descriptions and you just like to click buttons on players when you see things, what we're going to do here today is we're going to basically, Randy, Gary, and I kind of already gave our division standings, those kind of things, and whatever, and sort of division winners. But having other guys on to talk about it and whatever is always much more of an enthusiastic thing. We get to kind of feed off them. We also get one more shot right as the season starts to kind of see if we change anything or whatever. So we're going to go division by division again. We're hoping it doesn't take that long. I mean, sometimes we've done these and it takes 3 hours. It's not going to take that long, I promise. And then, we're going to talk about some relevant things that have been happening with these teams as we go through it. We're also, of course, something we have not done yet. We're going to give our final, our sixth, the 4 division winners and then the wild card teams and obviously the playoff picks and all that stuff that we haven't gotten to do. So you'll get to hear that first time on this show. And then Thursday, man, we're going to be talking about that kickoff game already. Gary and Randy, you guys ready for that? First game of the season?
So ready. Let's get some football going. We got the taste of it with college football this weekend, but now the pros get going
and
here in just
one
a few
more big
days.
game on Monday, too. Don't forget.
Absolutely.
Looking forward to it.
Yeah, I mean, and Randy will also get to debut his college football recap segment that we'll do after this is over. So that he can run down the important things that have happened over the weekend. Of course, if the Monday game is really close, we'll talk about it on Thursday, as well as we're also going to have to make our picks for that Thursday night game too before we get out of here, because we're doing the show after the game is over. And then, of course, that Thursday night show, we're going to be previewing all the Week 1 games. Breaking them all down and seeing what we think is going to happen. And Gary will be doing his players to watch in fantasy and all that stuff. So, it'll be a fun show. And then after that, start with Monday night. It's going to be late on Monday night because of the doubleheader. We'll be starting our 2 a weeks and so see how that goes. But let's get this thing started. Let's go ahead and start in the reverse that we did the division previews. Let's start in the NFC here. Let's start with that NFC East. That way, in case Anthony needs to leave, he's already done the division he knows the most about. So, we already talked about the Eagles dropping Tebow, but some more news. Not that big or anything, but the Cowboys made a trade with the Seattle Seahawks to bring Christine Michael to the team to kind of complement the slew of running backs they have over there. The Redskins decided that they wanted to go without RG3. In Washington and went with Kirk Cousins, and the Giants continue to kind of just do what they do. Eli Manning, I don't think, as far as I know, has not gotten paid the money he wants. JPP is going to join the team at some point here. But when you're looking at this division, especially now the Redskins have made their move, going with Cousins, what do you think, Brandon? Is that pretty much put Redskins at the bottom? Or did they even have a shot to begin with? I mean, what are you thinking here?
Yeah, I don't think they had a shot to begin with. I think they were the least talented team in the NFC East. We've seen what Cousins had to offer last year, and it wasn't much. He got a little bit of hype after that first start he made, and then he just started turning the ball over. I think it's Philadelphia's division to lose. I got them finishing 12-4. If they keep Bradford healthy, they are a legit Super Bowl contender, at least in my opinion.
All right, so you got Eagles winning this one then?
Yeah, I got the Eagles. Eagles pulling out the division. The Giants coming in second, and the Cowboys coming in second, the Giants coming in third, and Washington dead last.
All right. How many wins do you think Washington might get?
3.
Oof.
3?
Wow.
Woof.
I guess the next question is, who are you guys taking with the number 1 pick next year?
That's. I mean, hey, there could be other teams that finish 13-3 or 3-13. You never know. So Anthony, do you? I know as an Eagles fan, you like hearing what Brandon had to say, but have you changed your mind at all from your pick? I think you had picked the Cowboys originally to finish
I
first.
love what Brandon had just said, but no, I'm gonna stick with I'm gonna just break it down real quick. I got the Redskins. Their preseason has been a disaster. They lost their starting tight end. I believe it was the first game of preseason. The whole thing with RG3 is just a mess. They just they were already at the basement, so I see them winning maybe 5 or 6 games somewhere in that area. The Giants, at maybe a 9-17. Kind of, getting some games late. They could play a little role of spoiler. I like the Eagles and Cowboys to finish identical, 11-5, just like they finished last year, 10-6. But I think the Cowboys are going to get that conference record or maybe division record a little bit higher, where the Eagles do get in as a wild card, but the Cowboys win the East. So I'm going to stay with the same, and we'll just see what happens from there.
Robert, do you think that the Redskins made the right call with taking out RG3? Should they had faith in him, or is Jay Gruden trying to save his butt here and give himself a shot? Is this more than just about RG3?
Oh, I don't even see him even staying on the roster more than this year, if that even lasts that long. The arguing, between coaching staffs and ownership, they're not seeing eye to eye. I also even think that this might be something that causes Gruden to lose his job. So, am I a fan of RG3? No. Do I think the coaching staff made the right decision? Yes. I think it's Kirk Cousins' job, as long as things are going well for the Redskins. But as far as RG3 sticking around, no, I think he's gone by the end of the year.
All right, who do you have coming out of here?
I keep seeing Dallas. I think Dallas is probably going to be the team making the trade to get Seattle running back their second stringer. I think that's how that division is going to stack up. With Tebow coming and getting cut by Philadelphia, I think all roads go through to Jones's place down there in Dallas.
All right, Gary. Obviously we're enjoying hearing this. That two of the guys here are picking their Cowboys to get out of this division, but I'm looking at the Eagles, and I'm looking at, Sam Bradford has had some nice throws in the preseason. Looked like he might finally be healthy this year. Obviously, means nothing because that first game of the season he could tear another ACL or something. I don't wish that because I really don't want to see the Eagles not do anything because they're the one guy they're counting on got hurt. But you think Sam Bradford is going to be the guy to really lead the Eagles to the promised land they haven't been to in a little while here?
Personally, I think he is. And, in fact, as a Cowboys fan, I was very, very disappointed to hear about that trade to St. Louis because I was excited about Nick Foles playing for the Eagles because I knew he wasn't that good. In fact, I think the Rams are going to find that out very soon. I think that Bradford is an excellent quarterback. Why we haven't seen it is because he's had crutches more than he has a football in his hands. So I think that if the Eagles' offensive line can hold up and he's got some good pass blocking, this kid's going to surprise a lot of people. I've already drafted him on at least 2 of my fantasy football teams, and I'm looking forward to this guy being a very, very high octane offensive general. I just can see him getting on the field and leading this team to tons of points. I think he's the right guy to do it. Very, very accurate. And a lot of people think I'm crazy, but when I look at Bradford, I see a young Troy Aikman. Remember how accurate Troy Aikman was in his young time. I really could see this kid doing that, but he's just kind of stay on the field. So, yeah, I think he could definitely do it.
Has anything changed to make you change your pick of the Cowboys winning the division or anything?
Not so far. I think the Eagles are right there with the Dallas Cowboys. I feel like both of these squads are going to be fighting it out all year. I said it, and when it did the NFC East preview, I think it's going to be a dogfight, back and forth all year. I think the only thing that separates the Dallas Cowboys between them and the Eagles is I think that the Cowboys have upgraded their defense so much when it comes to the front seven, pass rush, and of course, keeping some other linebacking core, together, as in when they got some of these kids like Hitchens coming back for their second year. They got, some of the new talent. Of course, they got McClain, hopefully, when he comes back from suspension, be helping them out. So I think that those guys are going to put on a great show and help the Cowboys, at least their offense, when they need help. So I'm looking forward to it, but I think the Cowboys just edge out the Eagles a little bit.
All right, Randy, the one team that we haven't talked about here is the Giants, and they're kind of just, there on the horizon. Do you think that if the Giants don't do something, let's say they don't make the playoffs, definitely if they don't have a good year, you think this is it for Tom Coughlin?
Haven't we asked that question every year since the beginning of time? I think Tom Coughlin's job has been on the line like every year, and somehow he escapes it. But no, I kind of agree with you. Like if they have just a god-awful season, I can see him go. But they got to figure out how to make those two lines work, both offensive and defensive side. They have a ton of firepower on the offensive side of the ball, which will keep them in most games. And as was said earlier, they could be the deciding factor as to who wins the division between the Cowboys and Eagles, just as how they are able to play against the Giants, which is a strange position for them to be in. But I can see them really kind of pushing maybe for that second wild card spot, maybe an 8-8-ish kind of stuff. Like I said, it all kind of depends on the core of their line. But I'm in agreement with everyone that here it's between the Eagles and Cowboys. I side a little bit more towards the Eagles side of the ball just from all the stuff that they did in the offseason. But no, if the Giants sit there at like 6-10, then I think Coughlin's job is definitely in jeopardy.
Anything happen to make you change your picks or anything, Randy?
No, not at all. Nothing I saw in the preseason really changed anything.
All right, who did you have?
I had the Eagles at, I believe, 11-5, Cowboys 10-6, and then Giants like maybe 7-9, and Redskins probably like 4-12.
All right. Does anybody? I know Anthony. Does anybody have a wild card coming out of here?
Yeah, I have
I think I'm going to change mine. I think I'm going to put the Eagles just a little bit above the Cowboys at 11-5. Cowboys 10-6. They make the playoffs, though. I'll say Cowboys get one of the wild cards.
It sounds, to me that we all have one of these teams winning the division and the other team being one of the wild cards, just from what I could tell from everyone talking. I have the Cowboys as one of my wild cards.
Yeah, I got the Eagles as a wild card.
Yeah, go ahead, Robert.
I think so too. They're like Randy said, it's going to be it'll be a 1-2 really real close, and I think Philadelphia picks up the wild card.
All right, so we can pretty much move on here. So let's go to the NFC North. You got the Packers without Jordy Nelson. Randall Cobb's a little bit banged up, but I'm pretty sure Aaron Rodgers will still move it along here. Detroit looks like they're ready to go now that they have. Looks like Abdullah's taken over that starting spot already, and then he's set to be their big back going into the season. The guy that's going to get the most work. That defense is obviously going to have to be. They're still pretty strong even without Sue. I feel. The Vikings, I think, might surprise out of anybody. A lot of people are picking, thinking Teddy Bridgewater with his first full season to be able to really surprise, especially with the group of receivers he has now, and the defense has always been stout. Plus, do you think, Brandon, that Adrian Peterson is going to be back to the Adrian Peterson that we know, or is he going to stumble a little bit?
Yeah, I wouldn't bet against him. After seeing what he was able to do coming off a major knee injury. So I think he'll be back 100%. I think he'll be busting heads, and with him in that lineup, it's going to be much easier on Teddy Bridgewater, and Minnesota's going to be a team. I think I got them going 10-6. I think that they'll compete for the division, but I think they'll fall short to the Packers, who I got going 11-5. I got Detroit going 10-6, and Chicago 5-11. I like the Lions, especially on the offensive side of the football. I don't know if they're going to be able to overcome losing the best defensive player they had on their team, though. That kind of worries me. But I think their offense will be good enough to keep them in games, but I don't know if it's going to be good enough to win enough games to get them in the playoffs.
All right. So you have the Packers winning.
Yeah, I got the Packers winning, Minnesota coming in second, Detroit third, and Chicago last.
Does Minnesota get a wild card?
I think they miss out on that this year. I do got Dallas getting in as a wild card at 10-6, and my other wild card is going to finish about that with that same record, and I got them edging out the Vikings too.
All right, Robert. I mean, when you're looking at Green Bay, we know what they are. They're pretty much been one of the top teams for a while now. Is Jordy Nelson going to be this big a hit to where, let's say, Detroit or Minnesota could really keep up with them this year? Or do you think that who they got around is going to be able to, along with the defense, going to be able to keep things kind of status quo for them?
I think, losing Jordy Nelson is a huge hit to that team. But the guys that Aaron Rodgers has around him, I think, is going to keep them well above water. Now, AP making his appearance this year, going to be back in Minnesota. I do believe it's going to help out, but, Bridgewater, his second full year is still going to be coming up just short. So I do have Packers winning. Definitely winning the division. I have them at 12-4, and Minnesota there at 10-6. But I'm looking forward to see what Bridgewater and AP can do together up there in Minnesota this year.
All right, so you got Packers winning. You got a wild card here or no?
No wild card here, no.
All right, Anthony. I mean, do you think Chicago with John Fox and Adam, you think this is finally the year Jay Cutler finally gets it together, or
no, absolutely
somewhere else?
Yeah, no, absolutely not. I think Jay Cutler is one interception away from completely losing his mind. He's just it's just a train wreck over there in Chicago, and I think the wheels are going to fall really fast for that team. And I have them winning like maybe around 6 games this year. And then I have, I hate saying this because the Lions had such a good year last year. They even went on the road and played Dallas pretty strong. But I do have them at like maybe like a 7-9 team. But I do like that trio of Stratford, Golden Tate, and Calvin Johnson. But it just seems like, a lot fell off of the defense and whatever. So I have them at 7-9. And who am I missing here? I have the Packers winning the division. And at 12-4, even though Nelson falling off, that's a really, really tough loss. I forget what team am I missing? I'm sorry. They're coming second.
Vikings or
the Vikings? There you go. Yeah, with the Vikings, I'm like throwing a coin toss up with them. I'm not confident on Bridgewater yet. I think this being his breakout season, we saw what he could do a little bit, maybe but I see him kind of struggling at the end, and because of being so young. But I see like a 9-7 team with the Vikings and the Packers winning it at 12-4.
All right. Well, for us, we made our picks already, but anything happen here since we made that pick. I don't know if Jordy Nelson was injured when we did that or not. I think he was because we did that a couple weeks ago. But anything you've seen in the preseason makes you want to change the Packers winning? I think we all had the Packers winning, right? Randy or Gary?
Yeah, I actually wasn't here for this division. I was on vacation, but no, I'm right there with you guys. The Packers, I think, even without Jordy Nelson, are going to win this division. Aaron Rodgers is just too good. Yes, he kind of loses that security blanket, which I think losing Nelson hurts him and the Packers a bit more than losing Cobb would, just because he's the guy he goes to if the play kind of breaks down a little bit. But I still think they're good enough to win this division. To me, it comes down to the Lions and Vikings. I know that the Vikings are kind of this dark horse darling lately, in all these predictions stuff, and everyone thinks they're going to be this up and coming team. I just don't see it yet. I like Bridgewater with everyone else, and obviously with AP coming back, I can see where everyone's coming from. But as far as the results go, I just don't see it as much. I see them closing the gap with Detroit, and maybe them tying either 9-7, 8-8, but not really surpassing them. And I'm with everyone with the Bears. Jay Cutler's having issues, and then you lose Brandon Marshall, and you replace him with Kevin White, who then goes out and gets hurt and is out for basically the entire year. So he's down a receiver and down a lot of confidence. So I see them probably finishing the same 5-11 as they did last year.
Gary, anything?
Yeah, I mean, the one thing I'll say is that I kind of look at the Vikings, as what Randy just said, the dark horse. It's tough for me because I really feel like this year with Adrian Peterson, it may help their offense quite a bit. Bridgewater has not had that opportunity to have a guy at his level behind him and helping him pass block, helping him run the ball, and just being there to be that balance so he can get the ball to these receivers. I think Mike Wallace is a huge addition to the Vikings. I think he's going to help them with quite a bit, and I'm looking forward to seeing what they can do with him. So I'm a little bit more higher on the Vikings. I'm probably drinking that purple Kool-Aid a little bit too much. They're right there in the wild card discussion for me, but I'm not sure right now. I'm going to say they're a wild card team. I may later by the end of this discussion, but right now I'm not sure.
Yeah, I completely agree with the Minnesota thing. I think Minnesota has a really good chance to surprise here. Especially because these three teams are going to be taking wins off Chicago. I mean, we could definitely see Chicago get a goose egg in the division with how good all three of these teams are, barring any more injuries. Minnesota, it's going to be a dogfight for all three, I think. So, it'll keep everybody on their toes. I really want to see what AP does. And I want to see if the Lions are able to bounce back and get to the level they were at last year. Is Calvin Johnson going to have, and him and Golden Tate going to have the years they had, and Stafford is he going to regress a little bit? Or, because sometimes you get the weird Stafford, you get the Stafford that plays well the entire season, or you get the one where he doesn't do much, So, all right. So, I think we can pretty much, so we all had just the Packers getting out of here then?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. So let's move on. Oh, what?
I'm sorry, guys. I have to cut it off, but sorry to cut it off so short with you guys. But hey, I will be in touch with you guys real soon for the rest of these football shows you got going on. I think you guys are doing awesome with these.
Thanks, man.
All right. Well, thanks, man. Thank you for being on, Anthony. You're welcome back anytime, obviously.
All right. Everybody enjoy the games coming up. It'll be a lot of fun. And go Birds, all right?
All right.
Thanks, guys.
Well, let's go to one of the other divisions. I mean, there's the two divisions left both have bird teams in them. So let's go to the southern part of the NFC, where this could be a dogfight for various other reasons, whereas, again, reasons where you could just see teams trying to see who doesn't lose the most for the second straight year out of these teams. You got New Orleans with what everybody keeps saying is this is going to be the year that Drew Brees shows he doesn't have it anymore. Is, their defense improved, but, will Mark Ingram be able to take them and finally kind of be able to balance out the running game and the passing game? Are the Panthers going to be able to do it with no Kelvin Benjamin and, Greg Olsen and a bunch of guys? Cam Newton's going to have to do a lot there. You got the Falcons with a new coach, hopefully new philosophy, getting something going there. And then, well, you've got Tampa Bay with Jameis Winston making his debut, and I feel bad for him. So, do you think Jameis Winston might be able to show some of that Florida, why he was so good at Florida State, and maybe Tampa Bay surprised a little bit? Or are they just going to be that bad? What do you think, Brandon?
Yeah, I like some of their skill players, but that offensive line has been horrendous in the preseason, and I just don't see it getting better by kickoff of their first regular season game. And he's going to be running for his life a lot this year. I do like some of the skill players they got. Their defense outside of Gerald McCoy is not very good. So I don't see Tampa Bay doing much more than what they did last year. They had a lot more problems that landed them with that number one pick than just the quarterback position last year, and people kind of overlooked that. But I think Jameis will play okay, but he can't block anyone. So no, I don't think Tampa Bay is going to be making any noise at all.
What about the rest of this division, Brandon? Who do you think's going to win the fight of teams that might be trending downward instead of upward?
I actually like the Panthers to repeat as division winners. I do like some of their acquisitions they brought in with Boykin and Ted Ginn Jr. Unfortunately for Cam, he lost his best weapon, Benjamin. Stewart seems to be healthy. That's going to be a plus. Their defense is always stout, but it all comes down to basically Cam Newton. Is Cam Newton ready to take that step into that upper echelon of quarterbacks in the NFL? I don't think he's quite there yet, but he's right on the cusp. I like them to win the division at 10-6. I got New Orleans coming in second at 8-8, Atlanta coming in third at 7-9, and Tampa Bay coming in last at 4-12.
All right. What do you think, Robert?
Well, I Cam Newton, it's all on his shoulders. If he wants to get that team a win, you look at New Orleans, do follow them a little bit more in the NFC. But, him losing his big target, it is his year to prove it if he is that elite quarterback anymore. Mark Ingram, I'm hoping picks up a lot of the weight there. But I'm excited to watch Brandon Cooks. He is going to be, I think, Drew Brees' biggest target down there. As far as Atlanta, I think Matt Ryan has already hit his peak. I really do. I do not see this division getting any better than it was last year. If Carolina's lucky, they'll be 9-7. I think New Orleans 8-8 at the most. So I think it's going to be between those two teams. I am excited to see James Winston playing, but hands down, it's going to be a put up or shut up league this year with Drew Brees. So I think a lot of this conference is going to be riding on him.
Yeah, Robert had a lot of interesting things to say there. Do you believe this stuff with Drew Brees, Gary? That he's going to start regressing, or is this a bunch of hoopla and he's going to come out on fire?
I think he's going to regress. I think he's going to be a little bit better. I think he's going to be a little bit better. I think he's going to be a little bit better. I think he's going to be a little bit better. I think he's going to be a little bit better. I think he's going to be a little bit better. I think he's going to be a little bit better. I think he's going to be a little bit better. I think he's going to be a little bit better. I think he's going to be a little bit better. I think he's going to be a little bit better. I think he's going to be a little bit better. I think he's going to be a little bit better. I think he's going to be a little bit better. I think he's going to be a little bit better. I think he's going to be a little bit better. I think he's going to be a little bit better. I think he's going to be a little bit better. I think he's going to be a little bit better. I think he's going to be a little bit better. I think he's going to be a little bit better. I think he's going to be a little bit better. I think he's going to be a little bit better. I think he's going to
I'm not really in the camp of thinking that Drew Brees is off the wagon yet and going down to the nursing home. I really feel like this guy, has still got something in the tank. I think people have just kind of seen the struggles he's had in the past. That's not all Drew Brees. That's also regarding his offensive line, the fact that his defense has struggled. He's got Rob Ryan as his defensive coordinator. Most teams that do struggle. And so, because it's all on the offense to win the games. I just don't feel like it's, all Drew Brees' fault. And I think that he'll be a lot better this year. I think he's got some better weapons. He's got, of course, he did lose Graham. I think that may hurt him this year. I don't think he's going to be on fire. But I think the guy's still got it in a little bit, and I think that he's going to be okay. I really don't have any fear about him. I have a lot more fear about the rest of the team. Drew Brees is not one of them.
Randy, we kind of been skimming over the Falcons here. You got your new coach coming from Seattle, defensive-minded, something the Falcons have needed for a long while now. Matt Ryan certainly has if Julio Jones can stay healthy, he's certainly got receivers still that can make things happen. You think the Falcons are in the mix here, or the first year is going to be too much?
Yeah, I don't know what everyone is skipping out on this team for. 7-8-1 won this division last year, and now you're sitting here with Ryan, with hopefully a healthy Julio and a healthy Roddy White, and a dual running back combo, and a new coach that hopefully will get the defense going the way it is. I think Atlanta's winning this division. And a lot of it has to do with how weak the division is. But this team could possibly, get into that double-digit win category, which will blow away this division. Because I was really hoping to see Cam Newton take that step forward. But, with his number one receiver now out and his main target being a tight end, it's going to be tough for him to be able to take that step forward. And New Orleans obviously losing Jimmy Graham, and I'm with Gary where I'm not in the camp where I think Drew Brees has really taken a step back, but just like he said, his weapons are going. There's not much around him. Yes, Cooks is going to be great, but you look past that and you have Colston and Mark Ingram are your two main guys. It's not there. And yes, Winston has a great opportunity to show what he can do. Again, very weak division and stuff, but I think there's going to be some growing pains. So all four of these teams are probably going to end up pretty close in the division, but I have Atlanta winning this at 10-6. I don't know why everyone's been overlooking them.
Yeah, and I didn't get a chance to really clarify that as well. And Randy brings up some great points. And I think when we did our season preview, I think I chose the Saints as being my winner. Now, as we sit here and I look at more of what Atlanta has to bring, I honestly feel like none of the defenses in this whole entire division are that great, not as some of these ones were, especially Carolina. I'm just looking at this and I'm saying to myself, what Matt Ryan has and the weapons around him are a little bit better than what Drew Brees has right now. That's my pick too. I think the Saints will be fighting, but I really feel Atlanta's the team to beat.
Before Gary started, I was going to say, I think I was going to go with Atlanta at a 9-7 because I think all these teams, it's going to be so hard for Cam Newton without the weapons. And, Jonathan Stewart kind of had a better end to the season, but, he's very injury prone. They don't have D'Angelo Williams anymore. Are they going to be able to? The defense is the thing is going to be able to keep them in games. Are they going to be as strong as they have been? Let's see what happens with that. The Falcons still have that question mark on defense. Just because they brought over the coach defensive mind, it doesn't mean that it's going to snap in, week one and carry on through the season. They might have growing pains on that part too. I just feel like I'm one of the ones that's kind of buying into the Drew Brees thing here for a little, same thing kind of with Peyton Manning. I just think at some point with the diminishing returns on unless, Mark Ingram goes off and all the stuff with the running backs and they're able to balance it out a lot of like what they're trying to do in Denver. If that stuff goes well for them, I think the Saints can kind of keep it in contention. But, Rob Ryan's defense, man, we've seen it with him where last year was not very pretty. I know he's under fire, but sometimes that pressure can get to you, and I'm not sure that it's going to be all roses for him. And, Tampa Bay is what Tampa Bay is at this point. So, I'm in the camp of Atlanta. I think getting through with a 9-7. All the stuff's gonna be close. I think Tampa Bay, if Winston can get it together and all that, there's a chance that they could win 5 games, but probably not. Probably gonna be a little bit less. But so let's move on to the last division we have not talked about, which includes the Super Bowl runners-up and the Seattle Seahawks, who they made that. The bigger thing for them is that they were able to give Russell Wilson the money he wanted, so you don't have that distraction going into the season or anything. We already mentioned they lost their D coordinator, but they should carry on. It seems like things are just keep on going with Seattle, but as far as the rest of the teams in this division, you got Arizona, who's, if Carson Palmer can stay healthy, they should be contending again, just like they were last year until the bottom fell out pretty much. And, maybe who knows, if Carson Palmer gets hurt, maybe Matt Barkley will show up and do something. And then you've got 2 teams that it's just kind of, we don't know what they're going to do, really. We've got San Francisco, who just couldn't stop losing people to retirement. And whoever they got left on defense, they're pretty stout. But, I mean, it's just, you have to wonder what that team's going to look like. No Frank Gore either, but Carlos Hyde should fill in for him. And you've got, St. Louis, who seemed to be the team that, they won games last year with no names at quarterback. And now you bring in Nick Foles, who I think I agree with Gary when I say he's not as good as Sam Bradford, but maybe he's healthier than Sam Bradford, at least for St. Louis's case. They've got the situation of running back with Todd Gurley being hurt right now and all that. But do you think that there could be a team that you think it's going to be the Cardinals just flat out, or you think St. Louis or even San Francisco could surprise and make it a division for Seattle? Or is this going to be Seattle running away? What do you think, Brandon?
Yeah, I got Seattle winning the division by at least 2 games. But I am a little worried about them. There's some major team chemistry problems going on down there. Cam Chancellor, last I seen earlier today, and he's rumored to be a possible trade to the Giants or the Eagles. And not long after Wilson got paid, I can't remember off the top of my head which one of them it was, but another one of their top defensive players tweeted out, "You can't
Bennett,
can't
I think it was.
Yeah, you can't pay everybody." And I think they took a hit in the chemistry area by that call at the end of the Super Bowl. I think a lot of the players on that team still question what was Pete Carroll thinking. Were they trying to showcase Wilson over Lynch as being the face of the franchise? I think we all probably sitting here right now probably still question, like, what were they thinking? I like Seattle to win it. I got them going 12-4. I got Arizona coming in second at 10-6. If Arizona would have got quarterback play last year, if Carson Palmer could have stayed healthy the whole season, Arizona would have won that division easily. But unfortunately, we've seen that they, at one point they were down to their 3rd-string quarterback, and they just couldn't compete with the lack of quarterback talent. It's a quarterback league, and you got to have a quarterback in this league to win games, and no matter how good your defense is. And they were proof of that last year. I got St. Louis coming in second at 7-9. I'm a little higher on Nick Foles than some. I do like some of the skilled talent they have around them. And I like their potential on defense, but I don't like it enough to think they win more than 7 games this year. And San Francisco, bar none, has had the worst offseason of any team I've ever seen. They lose their coach. They have all these retirements. Arguably their best defensive player gets kicked off the team after a DUI. So I got them going 6-10 at best. So I think it's Seattle's division easily. Like I said, I got them winning by 2 games. I do have Arizona sneaking in to my final wild card spot for the NFC, though.
All right. Robert, what do you think, man?
I agree with him 100%. Arizona is who I've got coming in as my final wild card for the NFC. But I think it's Seattle's division. It's theirs to prove. I think there's a lot of those guys who've got a big chip on their shoulder after that final play in the Super Bowl. Not handing the ball off to Marshawn Lynch, and so I think it's theirs to go with. As far as the rest of the division, in our preview when we talked about the AFC North, who we are playing this year, I still believe that the NFC West is the division this year, and I think that San Francisco is going to be playing from behind most of their games, so hopefully the duo of Bolden and Smith back together, who were past Ravens, I think will help out Kaepernick. Carlos Hyde, I do like him being that star running back with the absence of Gore, but I don't think it's enough to even get past 8-8. I do see Seattle being at least a 2-game winner. I do agree with that, and Arizona being second place and taking my final wild card.
Well, finally was able to call in, but got to welcome in Eric Dwayne, our second guest here. How are you doing, man?
Hey, what's going on, fellas?
It's been a long while. I think it's like 2 NFL drafts ago was the last time we had you on this show. So, what do you think about the NFC West? What do you see happening here?
All right, the NFC West is pretty much a wash. I mean, you got the Seahawks pretty much fielding one of the best teams on paper. So, as long as barring any injury to Russell Wilson or any major injuries to defense, then I don't see how the Seahawks don't win the NFC West again. Coming up in second place, I do have the Cardinals. I think as long as Palmer can stay healthy again under Bruce Arians, another year, I think it's his 3rd year now under Bruce Arians. I think with Larry Fitzgerald and Michael Floyd and some other pieces they have on offense, that the Cardinals can definitely round up a respectable second place. I do have the 49ers finishing last in the NFC West. So that means I have the Rams in 3rd. I think that Nick Foles is going to have some pretty inconsistent times in the year, but I think that he can put together a decent enough season to maybe lead the Rams to a respectable 8-8 season, maybe 9-7. I know the defense is supposed to be one of the best in the game. At this point, it's just too difficult to predict this division. I mean, seriously, come on. We have the Seahawks, who might be the best defense since the Baltimore Ravens in 2000s. And then we have the Cardinals, who have a good defense. They have a great coaching staff. I mean, Pete Carroll and Bruce Arians might have some of the top 5, top 7 coaching staffs in the league. I mean, it's just that's what it is at this point. And I think the Rams have a good enough team to at least challenge an 8-8, 9-7 season. I don't see the Seahawks going 14-2 or 13-3. They probably win the division at 11-5. The Cardinals probably come in at 10-6 or 11-5 and lose the tiebreaker to the Seahawks. And then the rest of the division, I mean, they're going to miss the playoffs. That's just what it is.
All right. Really quickly, Gary and Randy, you think do you have Arizona going into the wild card too, or what do you guys think?
I'll go. I guess I'll go first. I'm looking at Arizona, and I think they're going to be a great team. I don't know. I'm still not sold. I think if they go in, they'll definitely be in that wild card spot. I just don't see it, being any further than that. But you know what? For me, I'm going to buy that purple Kool-Aid. I'm just going to go ahead and say it now. That way I can be the only one and say the Cardinals missed by a game. And I think that they may not make the wild card.
All right, so you think the Vikings will wind up getting the wild card?
I'm going to go ahead and give it to the Vikings.
All right. Randy, do you...
Well, Gary's drinking that purple Kool-Aid thinking they're going to miss the playoffs. I'm going to drink that red Kool-Aid. The Cardinals are winning this division.
Wow.
Yeah.
And it goes like this. Listen, they were a game short of the Seahawks last year, and they only had 6 games with Carson Palmer. Now, obviously, he has to stay healthy for this prediction to go right. But they were 6-0 under Carson Palmer last year. The Seahawks have all this other turmoil and stuff going on. Yes, Robert is right. They're going to come in with a vengeance because of the last play and all of that stuff. But I think they're on the decline just a hair. And the Cardinals are just this awesome team that were a quarterback shy of being the best team in football last year. So if Palmer stays healthy, they could be that best team in football this year because they're bringing everyone back. The offense is still high-powered. Bruce Arians has that defense going just lights out. Arizona Cardinals are winning this division. However, I did back another Arizona team on last week's podcast, and they kind of got blown out by Texas A&M. So I kind of feel bad for this. But no, I think Arizona's winning this division. I think Seattle's right there with them, a game or two behind them, and they'll be my second wild card. But I love Arizona this year.
Wow. Bold statement there.
Yeah, that's a pretty bold statement considering the fact that Arizona lost John Carlson, Antonio Cromartie, Darnell Darkin, Larry Foote, Ted Ginn, Dan Williams. I mean, that's as much as I love Bruce Arians and what he did in Indianapolis for the Colts while Chuck Pagano was gone with leukemia. That's a tough division. I mean, it's just how do you just clearly say the Cardinals are going to win the division when the Seahawks basically have done nothing but added one other great player in Jimmy Graham. So that's hard for me to sit there and say the Cardinals are just going to outright win the division, but they have a shot.
Well, I just say they're going to win the division because they had Drew Stanton for most of last year. And yes, the Seahawks may have not have lost a lot of quote-unquote talent, but all they've done in the offseason is bitch and moan. And so I just don't see that.
That's all they did last offseason too.
Well,
you had Marshawn Lynch held out last season, right? Richard Sherman held out last season, right? So I mean, this is what this team does.
Yeah,
and they full of a bunch of young players who are very confident in themselves. And then when it comes to contract negotiations, they all come together and they work together and they say, "Hey, I deserve to be signed. This is what I'm worth." And we're all going to come together somehow and make this fit under the salary cap. There's just not too many teams out there right now that's willing to do the same thing.
I'm just saying, they did all that last year, and they beat a Drew Stanton-led Cardinals by 1 game. I'm not saying the Seahawks are going to be a terrible team. I'm still saying 11-5. It's still good.
Not even Drew Stanton, Ryan Lindley by the time they got to the playoffs,
So even worse. So there you go. But
they lost
again,
if that defensive secondary too. Johnson and Maxwell both are gone. So,
but the Cardinals also went 3-3 in the division last year. They're going to sweep the 49ers and Rams. I'm sorry. I mean, it's not a tough division.
You could say the Seahawks are going to do the same thing. I mean, it's going to be close either way you slice it. Do you guys think that Jimmy Graham is going to be that piece that puts Seattle firmly where they want to be at? Is he going to be the guy that, everybody talks about there are 3 receivers that are really undersized and everything, even though I really like Lockett.
Oh,
is Graham going to be that that guy?
I think so. He's finally going to have a huge target to hit right there in the middle. I'm not taking nothing away from Luke Wilson or anything like that. But, to have a guy of Jimmy Graham's stature in there playing tight end, I think that just shores up a little bit more for Russell Wilson, and them not having to lean on Marshawn Lynch as much. But I really think, and I'm right there with Randy, it's going to be, I think, a two-headed race, but I still see Seattle leading out just a little bit more.
All right, fair enough. Before we move along, though, even though Eric joined late, I got to give him the floor to quickly go through the other three divisions that he missed. What do you think? Who are going to be your division winners and your other wild card coming out of the NFC, Eric?
All right, so we're going NFC, right?
Yeah.
All right, so I got a few shockers here. NFC South, I really think the Buccaneers have a chance to win this division. I think Jameis Winston has an opportunity to be offensive rookie of the year. I think he has the weapons, and Mike Evans and Vincent Jackson and Doug Martin and yada, yada, yada. And as long as he can get just mediocre protection, which is all it seems like that NFL quarterbacks need in this area because the referees protect them. If he can get mediocre protection, then he's going to have time to find these guys deep, which is his best skill set. I think NFC North goes to the Packers, obviously, but I actually have the Vikings possibly making the wild card. I think the loss of Suh and Fairley on defense for the Lions, and just the fact that I'm not a big Caldwell fan. Coming from a Colts fan who watched Caldwell take over from the Tony Dungy era, I'm not a fan. I saw too many coaching mistakes in his time in Indianapolis, and I see the same mistakes being made in Detroit. And I just don't think that they have the same team they had last year. And last year, let's just say they possibly underachieved, to put it lightly. Again, I have the Seahawks coming out of the West, the Cardinals possibly making the wild card. I have the NFC East might be the most difficult division to predict for me. I have the Cowboys winning it, but with the flux possibility of the Eagles or the Giants. I mean, it's to me, it's just that difficult. On offense, the Giants might be a top 7 team in the NFL. I mean, they have a trio of running backs, no matter what the preseason tells you, right? And they have their wide receiver set. Now, the only thing is the safety position and possibly where are they going to get a pass rush from. The Cowboys are possibly the most dominant offensive line in the NFL. You have Tony Romo and Des Bryant. You have Jason Witten. Now you bring in Darren McFadden. You have Joseph Randle, who might steal a few yards, pun intended. Right? So now we have the Eagles. And what do? Right? You invest your whole franchise into a quarterback that's had how many ACL tears now? And now your possible defensive player of the year is coming off an ACL tear from Buffalo. I mean, that's just so many question marks on Chip Kelly's moves. It's so hard to predict the NFC East. So hard. But to bring up the divisions, I have the Buccaneers first in the NFC South, the Falcons second, the Saints third, the Panthers last. NFC North, I have Packers, Vikings, Lions, Bears. NFC West, I have Seahawks, Cardinals, Rams, 49ers. And NFC East, I have Cowboys, Giants, Eagles, Redskins.
Wow. I think that's a first for somebody in this whole panel that we've had the Eagles be under the Giants And the only person that thought about taking the Buccaneers to win the division. I mean, that's...
I don't. With that defense, I don't know, dude. And their offensive line, it's a compliment to call them mediocre. They're a joke. He was running for his life in the preseason against vanilla defenses. So when they start bringing real pressure in the regular season, I don't see how the offensive line is going to be able to stand up. And I don't see him stopping nobody.
Yeah. It's right now it's basically just the NFC South and NFC East are so hard to predict. I mean, who do the Panthers have? Who does Cam Newton have to throw to? I mean, seriously, we're gonna go down. He's gonna check down every other play, 5 yards. What is he gonna do? He's gonna run for a first down. Where are they going to get the pass rush from? I mean, Luke Kuechly can only do so much.
True that. I mean, well, we have seen Cam Newton run for quite a few first downs. So, I mean, it's not like it's totally out of the possibility or anything. But, we'll have to see. I mean, the preseason is whatever it is. Sonny Heap will look stupid making predictions right now. And then they all wind up wrong. I mean, it's just... this is why you do these kind of things. You're a freaking boss if you get them all right, and you're an idiot if you get them all wrong. It's just how it is. So we'll have to keep note of that. And if Eric gets that with Tampa Bay, man, knowledge king right there. So let's move on to the AFC, where we'll just start in the AFC East, where Tom Brady, he escaped with no suspension. The judge finally looked at everything and said, man, this is bogus. Let me throw this out. Thank you very much. This is probably one of the dumbest things I've ever seen. So, he might get suspended next year, or, the NFL might end up winning this thing at some point. I just think, does anybody think that the NFL might win this thing in court later, and then Tom Brady might get suspended later on in the season, or do you think that they're done for this season and it'll be next year if he faces anything?
Oh my God, I am so done with this topic. Let's just play football. Let's just play football. We know he cheated, that's it. Let's just move on and start playing ball. You look at that division and let's just get it.
That division's really good at least. So,
with him being back, and no suspension, I do lean them being probably the team to go to. But I don't see the NFL ever winning this fight until something happens with Roger Goodell and he's out of office. So let's just talk football about it instead of Tom Brady and that.
You have a point. I just had to ask that question. So, anybody else have a thought or anything before we talk about this division?
Well, I will say it makes me hate myself because it has me, as a Jets fan, wanting the Patriots to go out and win the Super Bowl and Tom Brady just straight up retire and go, now what are you going to do?
You know what? Tom Brady will just stick it in their face and win another one after that just to show Goodell something. It is what it is. We'll get to see in the offseason what that's going to mean for Goodell and everything. But as far as this division goes, Buffalo and Miami both stepped it up, especially Buffalo. They already had a dynamite defense. They bring in McCoy. You have Rex Ryan. You got their deal at the receiver. Speaking of receiver, the Patriots have Reggie Wayne asked for his release, and then now they don't know who the hell they're going to start at receiver other than Danny Amendola right now. That's their. At least they got their quarterback back who can make any receiver respectable. And it's one of those things. And then your Jets, they lost their quarterback to jaw being broken, but that might work out in the end for him positively. And I'm living here in Miami, people all of a sudden again are on the bandwagon as they normally are, because that's what they do here in Miami. Everybody just gets on the bandwagon, and then as soon as they start losing, they do what Miami does and just gets off the bandwagon. And these people here are ridiculous. But, Ryan Tannehill gets paid. He looks good in the preseason. Everybody's all happy. What do you think's going to happen here, Randy? This is your Jets division. I know when we made the picks, Geno Smith was still supposed to be the starter to begin the season. But
yeah, this one, to me is kind of straightforward, especially with Brady being here the entire time and pissed off. They're going to win this division. My favorite thing is everyone for the last couple of years was like, oh, Geno Smith isn't a good quarterback. That's why the Jets can't win. And then Geno Smith breaks his jaw. It's like, oh, Geno Smith is out. Now the Jets can't win. I don't understand it. But
Ryan Fitzpatrick ain't that great either.
But he doesn't have to be, and I think that's the key. Fitzpatrick actually, I think, kind of fits more for what the Jets need. Just don't turn the ball over. The defense is better with all the additions that they did in the offseason. They go out and get Brandon Marshall and a couple other pieces in the running back spot. So the quarterback is like the least important piece in this entire team. Now, I'm not saying they're going to be good enough to make the playoffs or anything like that, as much as I would love them to, just because of how tough some of the other AFC teams are. But really, to me, it's the Patriots division, and then the other three are all going to be anywhere from 8-8 to 6-10. They're all kind of that mismatch. Good, but not great. Possibly could make the playoffs, but probably won't.
All right, Eric. Are you thinking it's Patriots just killing it here? Is there any team that you're thinking maybe could get a wild card out of this division? Eric? Did we lose him? I think we did actually.
Okay.
So Brandon, what do you think?
Yeah, I actually had to switch up my picks after that ruling, because I actually had the Dolphins winning the division. I didn't even have the Patriots making the playoffs, because I looked at their schedule. Without Brady, I figured they started at best 2-2, most likely 1-3, and only 24% of the teams that start 1-3 actually make the playoffs. Now that Brady's back and gonna unfortunately be able to play, I think that they're going to, win the division. I got the Dolphins coming in second. The Dolphins are a real team to keep your eye on, in my opinion. I think there is some reason for optimism, even though they haven't broke 500 in the last 5 years. I think this is their chance to this year. I like what they did in the draft. I know they lost Clay in the offseason. They did replace him with Jordan Cameron. They brought on Greg Jennings, Kenny Stills. I think that's a pickup that went under the radar for some fans. I think the Saints are really going to miss Kenny Stills. So
my doctor says
Stills are my team, and I always try to keep it unbiased with them. I'm actually, this is the first time I've been excited about Bills football in a long time. But I just don't think we got enough to win the division. I am interested in seeing what Rex does with that defense. We were already one of the best defenses in the NFL. Now we got one of the best defensive coordinators coming in to take it over. But, you never know when a new guy comes in if success from the prior staff is going to carry over. And so we have looked good in the offseason, better than I thought we would be at the quarterback position. But like you said, it's the preseason. You don't really know until the regular season starts. I think it's going to be a close race for a while, but I think the Patriots pull away and win the division by at least 2 games.
All right. Robert?
Well, I know this is going to make Randy happy, but I see this division getting better and better. I don't know about Chris Ivory being the main guy there in New York, but I see this division getting a lot better. My team, I'm really, I think it's New England's to win, but my team I'm looking at is Buffalo. Is having Ryan up there now. The defense is gotten a lot better. I like the idea of Tyrod Taylor making the start over Manuel. I think he's going to add a lot to that division, and I see nothing but positives for the NFC East. So hopefully, within the next year or two, that the Miami's, the Buffalo, and New York make a run against Tom Brady. With everything going on this year, my question to you guys is, do you think this affects the way that Brady plays? He's only going to have really one target to throw to, but Sean, like you said earlier, he makes everybody better. So I'm going to throw that question out to you guys. Do you think this is a prove-it season to Tom Brady, or for Tom Brady?
Yeah, you have a good point. They still do got Edelman. They did lose LaFell. So they are thin at the wide receiver position. But a couple years ago, he made Kendall Thompson a pretty decent player. So Brady does make players better. He did start out slow last year, and he didn't have anywhere near the distractions that he has this year. So, as a Bills fan, I hope he takes a step back. But as a realist, they might come out of the block slow again. But eventually, the Patriots, they'll be the Patriots.
Yeah, I mean, not to mention he supposedly has even problems with his personal life with Giselle, so he might even be more pissed off. I fear for all your, you two, both Brandon and Randy, they have teams in this division. But Gary, I mean, what do you think? Anything? Obviously Brady being there from the beginning is a big deal now. Anything jump out at you from these teams?
I think this division is, definitely a lot better than it has been in the past. I mean, what we've seen in the recent past was the fact that a lot of the teams were subpar. They were trying to get something going, but they just never could get over the hump, and the Patriots just ran right through them. And that's the thing that has been common as of late. But I think this year you're definitely going to see an improved Buffalo Bills team. The Jets have had some, success over the offseason, despite, them losing guys to suspension and, of course, some of the injuries on the D-line. I just think that that's probably what separates them from a Miami. I'm really looking at what Brandon is saying here, and I totally agree. Coming into this, I automatically have Miami as my wild card, and I have no reason to hype them or be on a bandwagon. I just look at that defense and how much they improved, and I'm a believer right now in the Miami defense, and I think that's going to help their offense. I think that they've struggled in the past, and this year that struggle won't be so hard because the offense will actually have, time to rest and have time to prepare. I'm not a Ryan Tannehill guy, so don't think that I think that's the success here. I think the running game would be a little bit better here, and I think the receivers that they have in place, that includes Parker, who has been injured, but I think when Parker comes back, it's going to add an extra boost to that Miami team. So I look for the Patriots to be the Patriots. Tom Brady is just Tom Brady. He's going to do his thing. And get the Patriots over the hump, and they're going to lead this division and win it. But Miami's going to be close.
Yeah, living here, that's all they're talking about. I think, the deal with Landry, that apparently that's going to be his number one receiver. You got Jordan Cameron there now. If he can stay healthy, I mean, they definitely now have weapons not that they didn't before, but Mike Wallace just didn't connect very well with Tannehill. I think if Tannehill improves now, you have all those weapons there from an offense, and the defense is certainly, they were already pretty good. Now you add Sue, and they're really great. They could be one of the best defenses in the whole league, not to mention that conference. So I'm going to go with you, Gary, in the whole making it my wild card. I think the Patriots are going to win this one again, even with the receiver problems. Yeah, Tom Brady's a guy that just makes things work. Whether it's they start running the ball with Blunt and Gray and whatever else they got over there again for a while until the receivers figure it out, or they just start signing more tight ends, or Gronk catches all the touchdowns, whatever. They'll figure it out. They'll be the Patriots. Even without Revis, I think they'll be just fine. So Patriots should win the division, but I think the Dolphins are getting that wild card. I just for the Bills also have a really good defense. Let's not take that away from them. I just worry about is Taylor going to be good enough to be able to lead them? If he has a bad game or something, is he going to be able to get through that? Is McCoy going to be healthy? He's already having some issues with that as well. So it's going to be interesting for that division for sure.
I have a question for either Randy or Brandon. Both these guys, their teams are in this division, and it's just a personal question. But I look at this as a fan that is going to have Tom Brady come into his stadium, and he is going to get a chance to, if he wants to buy a ticket, which is me, I could go buy a ticket and go see this guy. I was just wondering, do you think that this guy would sign my cell phone? I'm just curious because
no, but he'll break it. He'll break it for you.
That's true. So it's not such a good idea, huh?
You have a better chance of giving him a deflated football than a cell phone.
Oh, okay. Just checking that out. Thank you.
I like the Dolphins as well as you guys do to make the wild card. I really like their draft. I like the moves they made in the off season. Especially bringing in Sue. You put him with Cameron Wake, that's a nightmare. They're going to be very good on both sides of the ball. I'm a little higher on Tannehill than it sounds like you guys are. I think he's going to be a very good quarterback for a very long time in the NFL. He hasn't had a whole lot to work with. Like Sean said, the Mike Wallace experiment just didn't work out. He didn't seem to fit with them. I thought it would when they first picked him up, but it just never did. But I think that the Dolphins are going to be very dangerous this year, very dangerous.
You should know why I don't believe in Tannehill. I'm his fan. And he's a Texas A&M guy. All the A&M guys have to offer when they get to the pros, nothing.
Oh, Gary just wants to stick it to the A&M guys. Not everybody's Manziel,
There's a boy down in Denver on the defensive side of the ball that begs to differ with that.
Yeah, but what do we see from him last year? Just saying.
Oh well. All right, so I think we had Robert. You had the Bills and Patriots.
I have the Bills and the Patriots. I'm not taking anything away from Miami. I do like the things that they have done there in the off season, but I'm a huge Rex Ryan fan, so I think he's going to make a huge difference. So I can't say yes or no if a wild card is going to come out of there yet, but it will be a strong division. I think that it's a possibility that one of those teams, either Buffalo or Miami, will come out of there with the wild card.
Randy, did you have a wild card coming out of here?
No, there probably will be, but it's one of those things where I feel that all three teams are so even that one of them will probably jump out and be a few games better than the other two, but I can't put a finger on it, so I'd rather just put them all in a big group and just say New England.
All right. So let's move on to the other side of the AFC. where, you have the Broncos, who their defense has certainly gotten much better. But you got the deal with, is Peyton Manning going to be the Peyton Manning of the earlier in the season, or is he going to be the Peyton Manning that we saw at the end of the season? Is the running game really going to be able to help him with that? You've got the Chiefs that now have Jeremy Maclin, but is Alex Smith going to be able to see him when he runs further than 5 yards? That's going to be something to see if he can figure that one out. You got the Raiders, who are quietly kind of building a team that can actually play some football for once. So they might do something. And what am I thinking of here that I'm missing? Oh, the Chargers. That's right. The team that apparently just wants to get to LA already. And Phillip Rivers got his money, but you have to wonder if he's going to have enough help around him to be able to really get that team moving in that division, because I honestly think Melvin Gordon's really overrated, but that's just me. He has looked bad in the preseason, and I don't know that what he's showing is not, I don't know if that's stuff that's really going to improve, at least in this year. So, is it going to be the Broncos and then kind of everybody else, or are we really going to have some contenders here, or what do you think, Brandon?
I'm actually taking the Chiefs to win the division. I think they got the best defense in the division. They upgraded at the wide receiver position. I think part of the reason that we didn't see Kansas City Chief wide receiver catch a touchdown pass last year, and a lot of that had to do with the wide receivers they had in. They just couldn't get separation from the defensive backs. Bo, for whatever reason, has digressed from that big season he had a couple years ago, and some of that might be quarterback play, but I think a lot of it was on him. Andy Reid is a proven winner. Wherever he goes, he wins. Well, he's only been to Philadelphia, but he is a quarterback guru. He is an offensive guru. I think that he's going to have the Chiefs putting up some points this year. I got Denver coming in second. I do see Peyton Manning regressing. I don't believe in their running game, and if you watch the playoffs last year, they didn't have one once they got into the playoffs, and I predicted that would happen last year. I don't believe in C.J. Anderson. I got the Chargers coming in third, and the Raiders coming in last.
All right. You think the Raiders could maybe win 5 or 6 games, or are they going to be bad?
Yeah, I think they can win. I think I have them winning 6 games, actually. I like the moves the Raiders made in the offseason, particularly in the draft. Amari Cooper looks like he's the real deal. That move he put on Patrick Peterson in the preseason game was amazing the other day. So I think he's going to be a top-tier wide receiver in a few years. I'm not sold on David Carr. A lot of people are. When you look at his numbers last year, they weren't that impressive. Even though he didn't have a whole lot to work with, but he wasn't as good as some people made him out to be. I thought Teddy Bridgewater was clearly the best quarterback out of that class. So they do have a monster on the defensive side of the ball. They are going to be improved. How improved? I'm going to have to wait and see.
Well, I mean, we just heard Brandon says he believes that Peyton Manning is going to regress. You had that feeling too, Robert, or?
I do. I have been a Peyton Manning fan for a while, but I think this is the year that he does regress to the point of he really questions whether or not that he plays the next year or not. I do like Kansas City also. I like the Jamal Charles this year and where that team is starting to head with their receiving core. So I still think Denver wins it, very. I don't know, with Montel Ball, being waived and all that. I don't see them losing a lot with them having Anderson, but I think it's about to that point where Kansas City makes a run for it and becomes that team in that division. I still don't see Oakland doing much, and I do agree. I'm not a Derek Carr fan either, but their ads that they've got going right now might get a couple more games better, maybe 5-11. But as far as San Diego, Phillip Rivers got paid, so maybe he gets a little bit has more incentives this year and gets that team a little bit closer. But I still see Denver 1, Kansas City 2, San Diego 3, and Oakland 4. Now going back to the East, I'm at a I think one of those two divisions, either the West or the East, will pull one of the wild cards. So it's kind of up in the air right this minute.
We do know Phillip Rivers is sitting there waiting on his 8th kid by now. Man, phew, that's a lot of kids. I have one, and I'm good with that. But I don't know how he does it with 8. But still, the Chargers. I see a lot of people kind of have faith in them. Some have them win the division and whatever. But we've already heard 2 of us here on this panel not have a lot of faith in them. Gary, do you see why Brandon and Robert are right in that, or you think the Chargers could do something?
I think the Chargers are an okay team. I have a lot of fear for their defense, though. I don't see a whole lot coming from them. I don't see any additions that make me excited. Nothing from them really thrills me. Now, the offense is always great under Phillip Rivers, but not so great when he plays like he did kind of last year. So, it's a catch-22. You're going to get a good offense probably for the most part. I think Melvin Gordon will definitely help him. But on the flip side, that defense is going to make them suffer a little bit. And, you never know. You may get the Phillip Rivers last year, a repeat performance, or you may get the one, a couple of years ago where he's just playing out of his mind. I just don't know that I have a whole lot of confidence in San Diego this year.
But anything make you still got Denver coming out of here?
I may actually flip-flop on this. I'm feeling very sketchy about Denver. I think Denver's got a good team, but my fear is their offensive line added Mathis. I think that's a great move, but I still don't know if that's enough to help protect Peyton Manning, and we all know what Peyton Manning is. If he doesn't have all the protection he needs, he's not good. And he's never been a big runner at all. He's not really been that kind of guy. So he's even less now at his age. I have a lot of fear there. So you know what? I, as a Flyer, I'm going to go in a different direction. And I know this goes against what I wrote down, but I'm going with Kansas City. I'm just going to go with the fact that I think their offense is going to be much improved.
All right, Randy. We heard 2 guys say that they're not big fans of Derek Carr. I kind of like Derek Carr. I think Amari Cooper, I think that's going to make him have that 1-2 combination with the one receiver he's going to go to. I think with Murray, he's going to be able to kind of help them out in the running game, help him out as far as not having so much pressure on him. I think offensively the team's going to be all right with Carr. Do you see what they're saying, or?
I kind of understand. I would agree to the point where Bridgewater looked like the better quarterback last year and possibly will be the better quarterback, career-wise. But I like David Carr. I think he'll have a good career, probably a Phillip Rivers-ish type career, I guess you could say, where he's going to lead his team to a lot of wins and stuff, but maybe not the postseason success and probably not any championships or anything. But I like David Carr, and of course, you get him with Cooper and you get them for, for several years. You can have a great 1-2 punch there. And I actually see them as kind of that up-and-coming team that is going to pull off a couple upsets. Now, they're going to go out there and lose 5 straight games, but come down, week 15, 16, and you're a fan of this team in a playoff push, and, we got Oakland, no problem. They're going to go out and cause some havoc. I actually have them either ahead of San Diego or tied with them. It's really close, and that's more of me just being down on San Diego in general. I just don't see it anymore from them. I don't know what it is about this team. Whatever kind of pieces they throw out there, it just never seems to click for him. I've never been a big Phillip Rivers guy. I think he's had all of this talent, and he just can't put his head on straight. And then, with the contract situations, and then worried about LA more than what's going on in San Diego. I think there's going to be a lot of empty seats in San Diego in protest of all this junk, and I think it's just going to be a mess in San Diego. So I see both of them like in that 6-10, 5-11 range, and then it's between the Chiefs and Broncos. I'll give the Broncos a slight edge, but I think both teams make the playoffs. I have the Chiefs as one of my wild cards.
Anybody else have a Chiefs as their wild card?
I do have Denver as my wild card.
Oh, that's right. Yeah. You had it flipped. Man, you guys are kind of convincing me here. I had the Chargers, and I think I might have even had the Chargers win the division at first. But I think I'm going to, with Denver's improvements on defense and everything, I think I'm going to say Denver wins it, but it's going to be close. I think it's by a game, and the Chiefs are definitely going to get in second. I don't know. Am I going to say what? It's hard for me with that North, man, to give the Chiefs the other wild card. It's so hard. I'm going to go ahead and give the Chiefs that wild card, but I don't feel that confident about it. So let's get over to that AFC South before we go north. We know what we're getting here. It's the Colts and everybody else, pretty much. Is there any way that changes? I mean, I just don't see any of those 3 other teams on their level anywhere. I mean, unless the Colts defense just can't hold anyone and Luck cannot score people. But as far as in the division, I mean, if they don't go 6-0, that's a surprise, right? All right, Brandon.
Yeah, I have the Colts finishing with the best record in the NFL, and that's based more on their division. I think that they'll go undefeated in their division, and because I don't have much faith in any team that's in that division but the Colts. The Colts, on the other hand, the one thing I think you pointed out is their defense. They gave up some big passing games last year. Ben Roethlisberger had a huge game against them. The only team that they beat, I want to say, that made the playoffs last year in the regular season was Cincinnati, and we know who Cincinnati is, So I don't think that the Colts, on the defensive side of the ball, are real stout, but I really believe in that offense. They upgraded it. Andre Johnson, Frank Gore, should give them a running game, which they didn't have. They haven't had Luck's entire tenure there in Indianapolis, and that's going to make them even more scarier on defense. I got the Texans coming in second at 9-7. There's only so much that J.J. Watt can do. I got Jacksonville and Tennessee coming in tied at 5-11. I am interested in Tennessee a little bit more than Jacksonville. I want to see what Marcus Mariota can do. Blake Bortles looks really improved in the preseason, but we've seen that before with Blaine Gabbert. He looked improved, and then the regular season came along, and he was just trash. So I got to see it from Bortles in the regular season. I think Indianapolis runs away with this division.
Gary, I've seen you drafting a Marcus Mariota a bunch in the leagues here that we have many leagues in common in the fantasy football. Are you kind of high on Mariota doing something this year then, or?
I haven't done a whole lot of leagues. I think a league, maybe one, maybe two. But I just really, he's a backup guy. He's a guy to stash on the bottom of your roster. And just in case the guy gets hot, I don't have any confidence in him. I think he's going to be better than Jameis Winston. I think Winston's going to be a product of what Tampa's got to offer offensively on the offensive line. Now, I'm not saying Tennessee has a better offensive line, but I've seen more, let's just be honest, success so far. Even in the preseason, they've been able to protect him, and he's spent a lot of time on his feet compared to what Jameis Winston has done. And teams haven't even started game planning in the preseason for the quarterback and the offensive line. So that makes me really concerned. But I think Mariota is an okay guy. I think that, he's a smart kid who's going to be able to help Tennessee. He's probably the best thing offensively when it comes to quarterback-wise that they've had in a while. So, and Mettenberger was, he did what he could, but I think Mariota's good mind and will help that offense. But I can't see if he's going to spring them into any kind of big success. I think Tennessee's right about where they were last year.
Fair enough. Yeah, I mean, so is what can I think of his name? Who's playing quarterback for Houston?
Oh, Hoyer. One of the most underrated quarterbacks so far. I'm serious.
I'm surprised you're not telling me about Keenan. What's we call it?
Keenan Ivory Waynes? Who are you talking about?
No, what's his face? Your favorite guy from Houston.
Oh, yes, Keenan. Yeah, Keenan was a good kid. Just, very limited opportunities. He won a few games for the Houston Texans, but he wasn't a big enough name. He wasn't a Tom Brady big name. They don't like that in Houston. They want big names. So,
Brian Hoyer is such a big name.
He's not a big name, and he's the only thing that team can get right now. Hoyer is a great transplant. He helped Cleveland with the terrible, terrible team they had win a few games. I think he's going to be a big surprise for the Texans. I think he's actually going to win them more games than they would have won with any other quarterback. So I'll be honest, I think he's a sleeper. I would even draft him in a fantasy football league or two if your quarterback got hurt.
Fair enough.
I do like some of the. I like Jalen Strong and DeAndre Hopkins for him to be throwing the ball to. Speaking of the Texans, Ryan Mallett, he is one of those guys that got paid off of being able to perform in the preseason, and which should caution everybody about making judgments off of what players are able to do or not able to do in the preseason.
Yeah, really. I mean, what is that guy? He was on the Patriots, and they were saying he was going to do something. He was now the Texans. I mean, how many times has he gone to a team and they go, okay, this is going to be the guy?
Yeah, it happens. It happens, man. I remember as a Bills fan, Rob Johnson came in for the Jacksonville Jaguars for a 4-game stretch, and he looked like a world beater. And Buffalo was like, oh, we got to have that guy. And we got him, and he sucked. So.
Yeah. If Randy, the Jags suffered a big loss before the season, before training camp even started, pretty much. And it kind of seemed like it went downhill from there for them. They have definitely some young pieces that could work out if Bortles kind of works. Are they definitely improving, or?
Yeah, I'm actually, as the off season has been going on and we go through the preseason and stuff, and yes, I'm right there with you. The preseason means nothing. especially like numbers and stuff like that. But as the preseason's been going on, I'm finding myself kind of falling in love a little bit more with this Jaguars team. Now, to the point of them maybe going 6-10 this year, but like down the line in a couple years, they have some really young pieces themselves with Bortles and Robinson and Yeldon and now Julius Thomas, who they're not going to have for most of this year, but for down the line. And then definitely this is kind of that team to watch in 3-4 years, but as being like one of those like the Denver Broncos of then. But right now they got to put the pieces together. They got to get the experience going. And in this division with the Colts just running away with it, I don't see them even competing, and they'll finish behind the Texans as well. But I'm starting to like them just more and more, just as things go. I'm finding myself drafting Allen Robinson in almost every draft I do. So, yeah, I'm becoming a fan of this Jaguars team.
All right, fair enough. So let's move on to the last division we haven't covered, the AFC North. What are you? I mean, it seems like, to me, it feels like it's a two-team race. I mean, there's people that are counting out the Ravens. There's people that are counting out the Bengals. The Steelers seem to be the front runners here. What are you saying, Brandon? What do you think about this division? And do we see Manziel earlier than, say, Week 8?
So. I'm going to start off with saying I don't have much faith in any team other than Pittsburgh in this division. Baltimore, I think they got worse on defense. They lost Torrey Smith. They did pick up a good wide receiver in the draft, who I think is going to be a big weapon, but I believe he's already dinged up.
He is. He's still on the IR.
Yeah, so I don't have any faith in them. Justin Forsett was a great story last year. Can he continue that into this season? I don't know. He's never really done it in the past, but he's never had really that opportunity that he's going to have this year. So I got Pittsburgh winning the division at 12-4, Baltimore coming in second at 9-7. I think that this is Lewis's last year in Cincinnati, because I don't think they make the playoffs. I think it's Dalton's last year in Cincinnati because they don't make the playoffs. I got them going 8-8, and I have Cleveland at 4-12, and I do believe Johnny Manziel will make an appearance before Week 8.
All right, Robert. Your Ravens are in this division, and I'm sure you want them to make the playoffs, but
Well, I sure do, but they didn't put up much in the preseason, and Randy said it a few minutes ago. It was a preseason, doesn't matter, nothing, but that whole division, and it always comes down to a dogfight between the three teams. Do I think Manziel makes an appearance by Week 8? I think he might even make an appearance a little bit earlier than that. As far as the division looking, I don't see Cincinnati making as hard a push this year as they did last year, but I still think that it'll be a team race between Pittsburgh and Baltimore. You're right that Perriman is hurt. He should be back within the first couple of weeks, but I do think Forsett has a chance of making it his team, and Flacco is Flacco. So if he can hit them targets, and Steve Smith being his last year, I think he's got a little bit to prove, and wanting to get to the Super Bowl. And there's been a number of people that says it's Baltimore's year to win it. So I'm going to jump right on that bandwagon too, but I'm going to say that one of the wild cards come out of that division. All three of them the winning the title last year and then the other two teams getting wild cards. I don't see that happening again this year, but I do see one of the wild cards, and it'll be either Baltimore or Pittsburgh flip-flop for winning the division and taking the wild card home.
Well, I mean, you got to pick one. So.
Oh, I'm gonna, and we talked about this in the early part of the year. When we talked earlier in the year, I still think AFC North has the toughest schedule and toughest division. Randy and I have been talking about who has the toughest schedule, but I'm gonna lean Baltimore. Baltimore at 11-5 and Pittsburgh at 10-6.
You homer.
I know, but they got the AFC North plays the NFC West this year, and I think it's going to be a tough division for Pittsburgh and them guys to make it out and play some of those NFC teams, and so it's going to be another coin flip year.
All right. So, did everybody besides Robert have the Chiefs then? Or have the Broncos or something of that? Was Randy the only one that didn't have the wild card taken already?
I had one more left.
Okay. So, which one? Who's your other wild card then?
I have Pittsburgh winning this division. I actually have Cincinnati as my wild card. I know everyone's down on Andy Dalton, as they should be, because of how terrible he is in the postseason. But they find a way in the regular season, and I just don't understand it. You just look at the team, and even though they have some talent, you just go, well, they're not going to be very good. They have Andy Dalton, and he threw 17 interceptions last year.
He has a bunch of talent this year. He can't if they don't make it to the playoffs, and especially win one game, and everybody stays healthy, he should be gone. They have A.J. Green and Marvin Jones. They finally figured out their running back situation. I mean, they've got an offensive line. I mean, he has no complaints there. It's on him.
But I'm with you. And it's like, that's why I'm having them still win or make the wild card. But it's like, you just look at Andy Dalton and go, you can't trust the man, but you kind of have to. And it's one of those, they're going to make the playoffs like they seem to do every year lately. And then whoever plays them in the wild card round is just going to blow them out and basically get an extra bye. It's becoming a yearly occurrence. And
that is why
continue.
That is why the AFC North is the toughest division in football, hands down. Bart, I really do, and I agree with the comment earlier that if Cincinnati does not win, Dalton's out, Lewis is out.
Gary, did we see Manziel before Week 8?
I think you will. I think they want that kid to work out as much as I think any other guy who takes a risk on this guy, number one pick, and I think a lot of teams they try to be as successful as they can off those big investments, and they're going to do their best to get him on the field this year. I really feel that way. I think they wanted to redeem his image, and that's the best way to do it. Get him in early, try their best to get this kid going full force, and see if they can get all they can get out of him, and hopefully it's a positive thing for them.
Will it be because McCown's bad?
I just don't think McCown has enough to offer. You're talking about a very, very average quarterback, a guy that doesn't have a whole lot of upside. He's about as good as he's ever going to get, and we've all seen what he's going to give you. So, I mean, I think that Manziel is a step up in that category because he can get away. He's more elusive. I just think that that's why, they'll probably go ahead and try their best to get Manziel in there before Week 8.
All right, so let's move on to the playoff stuff. The even harder part of this thing here. So just as we got to actually do this. We got to pick our seeds now, so we can figure out what those. We don't actually have to go through the matchups one by one because we'll be here a while. I want to know the seeds so that you can make those first round matchups, and then we can just pick our who's going to be in the championship game, and then who's going to be Super Bowl, and then who's going to win. So, Brandon, what are your seeds for the NFC and seeds for the AFC?
Okay, I have Seattle as the 1 seed in the NFC, Green Bay as the 2. No, I'm sorry, Philadelphia as the 2, Green Bay as the 3, Dallas as the 4. No, I'm all messed up here. Let me look this up. Okay. I have Seattle as the 1, Philadelphia as the 2, Green Bay as the 3, Carolina as the 4, Dallas as the 6, and Arizona as the 5. I got Dallas losing to Green Bay, Arizona beating the Cardinals in the first round. Do you want me to go through the whole...
Arizona beating the Arizona's beat themselves?
Oh, I'm sorry, Arizona beating Carolina.
That's awesome.
It's a little late here.
That's all right.
In the second round, I got Arizona upsetting Seattle at home. I think that Carson Palmer and the boys, they're familiar with them. I think they're going to go in there and beat them. I got Green Bay beating Philadelphia, and I got Green Bay beating Arizona in the NFC Championship game.
All right. So you got Green Bay in the Super Bowl. All right. So what about the AFC?
In the AFC, my 1 seed is Indianapolis. My 2 seed is Pittsburgh. My 3 seed is Kansas City. My 4 seed is Miami. My 5 seed is Denver, and my 6 seed... Oh, whoops. I forgot that was my old one. All right.
So you have New England and Miami flip-flop then?
Yeah. I have New England as the 4 and Miami as my 6. I got Miami beating Kansas City, New England beating Denver in the first round. I got New England going to Indianapolis and beating the Colts. And I got Pittsburgh beating Denver. And I got New England over New England over Pittsburgh, and I got New England in the Super Bowl.
Who you got winning the Super Bowl?
I got the Packers beating New England.
All right, so you got the champs getting all the way to the end and losing. All right. Robert?
Well, I've got in the NFC, I've got Green Bay 1, Seattle 2, Dallas 3rd, Carolina winning that South and being 4th, Arizona being the number 1 wild card, and I still back and forth Philadelphia and Minnesota being the 6th. Moving on to the second round, I see Seattle beating Arizona and Green Bay beating either Philadelphia or Minnesota. So and then I
pick one.
You can't have
pick
none of
one.
this.
All right, I'm leaning. I think I'm gonna lean Minnesota then. So I'm gonna lean Minnesota. But then I have Seattle and Green Bay in the championship, and then Seattle beating out Green Bay.
All right, so you have Seattle getting the Super Bowl for the 3rd time in a row.
Sure. Yep.
What do you got on the AFC?
AFC, I've got New England 1, Indy 2, Denver 3, Baltimore 4, Kansas City 5, and Pittsburgh 6. And then I have Baltimore beating Kansas City, and then Indianapolis. So it'd be I've got Indianapolis and Baltimore making it to championship, and that's a coin flip. And I really like to see my Baltimore Ravens win, but I think this might be the year that Andrew Luck makes it to the Super Bowl.
Did they beat Seattle though?
I don't see them beating Seattle. I have Seattle winning.
All right, so 2 out of 3 for Seattle. What do you think, Gary?
Okay, well, looking at the NFC, I'll go ahead and give you my just ranking straight up. I have the Seahawks number 1 seed. I got Cowboys at number 2. The Packers lead up at 3. Eagles at 4. Falcons at 4. Eagles at 5, and Vikings at 6. Then I'm going to go ahead and move to the AFC. Indianapolis will take the 1 spot. The 2nd seed will go to the Patriots. 3rd to the Ravens. 4th, and I changed mine to the Chiefs. Then, of course, the wild cards will round out with 5 being to Miami and 6 going to the Steelers. So, and you're probably wanting my Super Bowl pick, huh?
Well, I need your championship game pick and your...
Well, the AFC will definitely be the Indianapolis Colts and Patriots, and the Colts will definitely be making their appearance in the Super Bowl this year. I think that the NFL loves to tell stories and rehash stories, and I think this year is going to be kind of funny. So I'm going to go ahead and go Cowboys and Packers in the conference championship game, and I think the Cowboys are going to finally get over the hump in Lambeau and make it the Super Bowl. So, and I have no idea who's going to win the Super Bowl. It's a coin flip.
You can't do the coin flip thing.
Okay, so no coin flip thing. So I'm going to go ahead and look at the Colts defense and say, Jesus Christ, how could they get this far without being able to stop the running backs? And I just think that this is finally, I'm just going to give it to the Cowboys. I'm going to be a homer this year. This is fun.
Man, Gary.
I've never got a chance to be a homer. I'm going to go a homer. Why not?
Gary, you don't think the Broncos will make the playoffs at all?
No, I don't actually. I don't. And to be honest with you, the reason is because I don't see Peyton Manning making it past Week 5. I just think his broken leg is not going to get him any further. That offensive line, besides Mathis, is horrendous. It's terrible.
That's a good point.
Right.
Good point.
So, Gary has the man. If Gary's thing works, then
when you say that, if I have to deal with that game, Sean, I'm probably going to be having a heart attack. I'll be in the hospital watching the game because
you'll have a heart attack. You won't be able to celebrate the Cowboys win.
No, because Andrew Luck his offense is going to be really good this year. It terrifies me how good it's going to be.
All right, Randy.
Okay, so in the NFC, I have Green Bay 1, Philadelphia 2, Arizona 3. And Atlanta 4, with Seattle being the 5th seed and Dallas being the 6th. AFC, I have Indy 1, New England 2, Pittsburgh 3, and Denver 4, with Kansas City being the 5th seed and Cincinnati being the 6th. And I kind of want to go with what Gary was talking about, how the NFL likes stories. So because predictions always suck, and because I'm going to get it wrong anyways, my championship games are going to be the Green Bay Packers over the Arizona Cardinals. And in the AFC, I am going to have the Kansas City Chiefs over the Pittsburgh Steelers. And because this is Super Bowl 50, we're going to have the rematch of Super Bowl 1. And I will have the Packers once again defeating the Kansas City Chiefs in the Super Bowl.
History.
Yeah. Wow.
Nice. That was nice. I like that.
Lombardi comes to rest on,
Yeah.
I just would have had the Kansas City Chiefs beating them.
I would have, but their coach is still Andy Reid, and he can't win the big one.
Yeah. And my Super Bowl prediction is a rematch of Super Bowl 5, so.
Well, they are. If you look at the NFL.com schedule, every time there's a Super Bowl rematch, they put it in the gold. So,
hopefully they don't have the Ice Bowl again, Gary. I can't deal with that.
Oh no, the Ice Bowl would be terrible. I agree, but the Cowboys are still, and you can talk to those old ones. They're still pissed off about Super Bowl 5.
Yeah, it's true. So I have Seattle 1, Green Bay 2, Philadelphia 3, Falcons are 4, Dallas is 5, and the Cardinals are 6. So that would make it the Eagles against I got the Eagles beating the Cards. I got the Cowboys beating the Falcons. I think my championship game is going to be the Eagles and the Eagles, yeah. So Eagles and Seattle. I think Seattle ends up beating the Eagles, so they go to Super Bowl. I got the Patriots 1, Colts 2. I want to do this one. I'm trying to remember who I had for picks. I think where did I have on that? Damn. Steelers 3, Broncos 4, Chiefs 5, and was it who the hell did I have in the Dolphins 6. I think the Dolphins will upset the Steelers. I think Broncos end up beating the Chiefs. Colts beat the Broncos again. Patriots beat the Dolphins. And I too also have the Colts getting the Super Bowl, but they don't get past Seattle. And Seattle wins again.
One thing I'd like to put out on the Colts is, on paper, their offense is vastly improved with Andre Johnson and Frank Gore, but both them guys are over 30 years old. And once you start getting up in that 30-year-old range, I think Gore's 33, injuries that before you could get over fast take longer, and so they're going to have to stay healthy for them to reach the potential that everybody sees in them.
Yeah, that's very true. Them above many others, I think that they would have to stay healthy a lot. And Andre Johnson's not going to be blowing by people on the field, so there's definitely a chance he can get tackled. And I just think what Frank Gore gives the Colts as far as a running game and the way they can do play action and stuff like that, which they haven't been able to do, like you said, since Luck's been there. I think that's a threat that, not people that are going to have to, but that they're, other teams in the AFC and the NFC for that matter are going to have to deal with. That's going to be a problem, so. And the defense is going to be the thing that's going to have to improve, because they can't just air it out against everybody. At some point, they're going to face somebody that's going to put them in their place for that defense still being weak. So it's going to be interesting. We know the season kicks off on Thursday. Going to be interesting to see how Tom Brady plays against the Steelers, who defensively have not looked that great. So it'll be interesting if Dick LeBeau being gone is going to be something the Steelers rue there. That being said, we got to make a pick for this first game. Everybody got the Patriots, or are we gonna differ here?
No, I'm going Patriots.
Yeah, me too.
Same here.
Yeah, Patriots. Brandon?
No, I'm taking the Steelers.
Oh, really? Why?
Like I said earlier, it took Tom a couple games last year to get into rhythm, and I think it's going to take a few games this year too. And I think the Pittsburgh Steelers are going to have the most balanced offense in the NFL, and I'm interested to see what New England has to offer on the defensive side of the ball. They lost some weapons on that side of the ball in the offseason.
No Le'Veon Bell though for this game.
Yeah.
So, Brandon could definitely be right. Obviously, we saw Brady struggle for a while last season.
Yeah, the big thing for me for this game, I just looked it up. 11 of the last 12 Thursday night opening, kickoff games or whatever have been won by the home team. And actually, the only time it didn't happen was in 2012 when Dallas beat the Giants. So there you go.
That's because that was a division game.
Oh, and technically that was played on a Wednesday, so all the home teams went on Thursdays. So there you go. That's why I'd pick the Patriots.
All right, Randy. So now it's on you to break down the. I mean, Robert, I don't know if you want to stick around and listen to Randy do this, or about the college football, or.
No, it's time for me. I got to go coach in the morning. So pleasure as always, Gary and Sean. Thanks for letting me join in. Brandon and Randy, thanks for a good time, and go Ravens.
Oh, Jesus.
Later.
See you, Robert.
Being on,
Thanks.
man. Pleasure to have you.
Pleasure. Thanks, guys.
All right, Randy, you have the floor to guide us through this weekend of college football.
Well, actually, I want to take the floor and give it to Gary, because Gary goes out and dominates our college football pick'em week 1. Gary, congratulations.
Oh, thank you.
He is in the 99.9 percentile in all of ESPN with his picks. He's in 348 out of like 250,000 people. So Gary's our expert.
So yeah, far from it, but I do think it's kind of interesting, because you make these kind of picks and you really, try to think about it intelligently, and you just happen to get them right one week, and man, you feel so good. I fear the height that I'm at right now, I'm going to fall very far. But no, I mean, it was a very interesting week, and I looked at that Stanford game, and I kind of thought to myself, man, I felt so good about that game, and I've heard several times that you hear the analysts cover that game before even got kicked off, and man, they look bad now. And if I just would have made that choice to not pick them, I could have been even better. Darn it!
Yeah, and I'll just go into this,
And the game day crew was in Fort Worth, Gary.
I should have went over there, man. I should have been a part of the panel.
Yeah, you kind of look at week 1 of college football, and to me, yes, the games matter, and obviously wins and losses will count towards final results and all of that. But to me, it's kind of like the warm-up games for most teams. That's why you see a lot of teams playing cupcakes, and why there's not as many marquee matchups like we're going to get tomorrow night with Ohio State and Virginia Tech, or like we saw with Alabama and Wisconsin. And so it's a lot of teams look at this as kind of their warm-up. So for a team like Stanford that went out and just completely laid an egg against Northwestern, they can still come right back out and be in that Pac-12 title hunt, maybe even make the playoffs. I mean, Ohio State won the championship while losing their first game. The same goes for the team that I thought was going to be the dark horse national championship contender, and went with them with my official pick, Arizona State. I watched a bit of that game on Saturday, and their offense was god-awful, especially when you look at Texas A&M, who isn't supposed to have a defense, but put pressure on the quarterback every 2 seconds. So if your team lost its first week or didn't look that great, don't worry about it, because, again, it's kind of that warm-up thing. On the other hand, if your team did go out and win, it did look good, don't get too high on yourself. Alabama fans, they went out and drubbed Wisconsin pretty good, but it's not going to be like they're going to drub everyone now. And, Texas fans get off the bridge a little bit. They looked terrible against Notre Dame, who just completely destroyed them But so all in all, week 1 is always interesting to get through. You're going to get those couple upset games and stuff in there. But there's not a lot of takeaway as you can go down the season.
Gary, are you getting close to that bridge with Texas already?
I've been there. I've been there and done that, and I know we had a few, I'm not sure if it was Brandon or Kevin on the college football preview who said, don't sleep on it. But I've been lulled to sleep with the efforts, just of finding a good quarterback and finding a way to get the Texas Longhorns back to where they need to be. I think that they got the right coach. I do believe in Charlie Strong. I have a lot of belief in his, system and getting those guys not just to be boys but to be men. But right now, the type of athletes they need are not there. So until that happens, I'm going to be asleep watching them.
I mean, my Razorbacks played UTEP, so there's not much to take from there. But I like the fact that they were really balanced. I thought they would just be riding Alex Collins to no end, and they passed the ball a lot more than I had seen them do last year. Brandon Allen looked good and everything, but again, you got to take into account who they're playing, so it's whatever. When they start playing conference games, if they can play like that, then I'll be happy.
Yeah,
looks like the new offensive coordinator's working out.
Yeah, I did like. I was at work a lot of Saturdays, so I was kind of watching games here and there. But I do love that the one game that I actually got to watch the most of while at work, just during a slow period, and actually made some of my first ever tweets on it, was that BYU Nebraska game, which had all sorts of crazy storylines. The BYU
Hail Mary at the end for BYU.
Yeah, not only a Hail Mary at the end, but a Hail Mary that went right to the goal line. Like, if he fell forward instead of sideways, he doesn't get the touchdown anyways. But the other storylines of their poor quarterback, who has lost a couple other seasons due to injuries and everything else, goes out there and looks amazing in the first half, has a little bit of an ankle injury, comes back and then re-injures it and is out for the year. So, yeah, I mean, you feel for that kid. But yeah, there's a lot of good storylines going forward. The Pac-12 needs to step it up. They all looked like garbage, but again, it's week one, and
Brandon, what do you any takeaways for you? Would it be overall?
I made a bad pick in Stanford. That's how I feel right now. I know it was week one, but they were horrible on offense. Their offensive line couldn't get a single push. Hagan looked horrible. I really have no hope that Stanford's going to be able to rebound and win the Pac-12 at this point. As for my Sooners, we started off slow. First 5 drives, we had penalties that killed us on each one of the drives. But once we got going, it was refreshing to see a quarterback that actually could go out there and sling it. We haven't had that since Landry Jones. It's going to be a fun year in college football. Malik Zaire had a huge game against Texas. I think he only had 3 incompletions the whole game, so that's pretty impressive. I thought Texas would be a little bit better than they are. They look lost on offense. I think they are in trouble this year. I think that they're going to lose quite a few Big 12 games once the season rolls around. And I worry about, is Strong going to make it into year 3? If Texas completely comes out and falls flat this year and they don't even make a bowl game, or if they go 6-6 and get into a bowl game and get thrashed like they did last year, a lot of that alumni didn't even want him to begin with, and I don't know if his job will be safe. And it would be unfortunate because I agree. I think he's a very good coach. I like the way he coaches, but it's Texas, and they want to win now, not later.
What do you think, Gary?
I totally agree. I think they do want to win now, and I think it's frustrating for them to see young kids leaving the program that had committed to them and wanted to go other places. I think they're getting frustrated with the fact that they see a coaching staff willing to deal with the growing pains, and they don't want to deal with those. I know the coaching staff has a point. They have a reasoning, and I think their long-term plans are a little bit longer than the alumni's plans. So it's just going to be who's more patient. Is the alumni going to be patient, or we're going to see Charlie Strong headed to a new team?
Because a lot of alumni are they weren't happy with some of those departures that he was involved with some of the players that he got rid of.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know, man. I feel for you, dude. I really I hate Texas, but I feel for you. I think it's gonna be a long season, man. I coming in, I thought they could at least finish 4th or 5th in the conference, but now I'm thinking, man, either Notre Dame's a world beater on defense and much improved from last year, or that offense is really in trouble.
Yeah, I just think that, let's just be honest. I think that the offense is in trouble, and I just think it all goes back down to the quarterback play and the offense that they're running. I'll give you just a brief good example. The Dallas Cowboys signed a young free agent tight end from Texas, Swain, and a lot of people said, "What the heck are they doing? That guy did nothing." And he comes to the Dallas Cowboys, and they're in training camp, and they're like, this guy is pretty darn good. He's catching passes everywhere. He can block. What happened in college? Where was this in college? And the Texas Longhorns couldn't show what they had because the team just could not get it straight. They couldn't figure out what to do. And that speaks volumes to me that a guy can come into the pros and play so well, but in college look like trash.
Yeah, it happens sometimes. Happens the other way too. Many times, how many of these guys come in from college and are terrible?
Yeah, I think that's more often the case. But I mean, this is kind of the opposite effect, and it's so wild.
I mean, I heard today people that are saying that apparently, people are waiting for Andy Dalton to do nothing because they're already planning for AJ McCarron to take his spot or something.
Wow.
Yeah.
I don't know about all that, but people have to talk too. So, hey,
who impressed you guys the most this weekend? Well, of course, we haven't seen Ohio State play yet, so.
If Ohio State blasts Virginia Tech, I think that's most impressive for me. For me, it had to be Alabama. Wisconsin's not a bad team. Texas. So they're expecting Wisconsin to win the other side of that Big Ten, and Alabama just went in and just said, "Well, forget that shit."
Yeah. Oregon's defense gave up 41 points, I believe, to Eastern Washington. Either you guys, I think both of you picked Oregon to win the North and the Pac-12. That worry you at all?
Well, all right, before they get into that, I will say I do work with a guy who's an Eastern Washington alum and follows that team like no other. And he will be the first to tell you that Eastern Washington is the best at losing games 103 to 104. They have one of the best offenses in all of college football, whatever ranking and division you want to put them in, but they have no defense. So, yes, Oregon gave up 42 points, but Eastern Washington is all offense all the time. So I wouldn't be too worried if you're an Oregon Ducks fan.
Also, you got to think about, did they really go in there thinking that Eastern Washington was going to do anything? And Oregon might have taken them lightly and just got overwhelmed. It's a different thing to get up for these games where, they don't mean anything, they're not conference, and you think you're going to roll over and beat them.
I will say I didn't watch any of this game, but just looking at the stats of it while we're talking about it, this Cooper Kupp, I guess is his name. Yeah, watch out for him. Holy crap. 15 receptions for 246 yards and 3 touchdowns.
Yeah, he murked them. He definitely got on some draft radars, I think, with that performance. I don't think they're going to beat Sparty next week. I think Sparty's going to whoop them.
Yeah. I did say I thought they'd lose to Michigan State, so.
Yeah. I think Sparty's going to win. Spartans look pretty good. Of course, they were playing, was it Central Michigan, I believe?
Central Michigan, yeah.
So you can't take a whole lot from that, but I trust their defense a little more today than I do the Oregon Ducks.
To kind of go back to what Sean asked about, what you're most impressed of, I think Alabama is the easiest route because obviously they played the toughest competition and they looked very strong. To me, another one I want to look at, yes, they played Texas State, but I like the way Florida State played. Everett Golson coming in from Notre Dame, just completely outstanding. Again, the competition was not great, but you want to go in and see kind of how the team gels with a transferred quarterback coming in and him throwing for 300 yards and 4 touchdowns, only throwing 6 incompletions the whole time. It looked like he understood the offense, which is the key. So when they go into that tougher competition, Florida State could be a bigger contender than I was giving them credit for.
Yeah, their running game looked pretty good in that game, too.
So is there a team that got beat, that got upset, that you think might be able to bounce back? Like, you think... like an Arizona State. You think Arizona State might still have it there, Randy?
I'm hoping so. I'm hoping Texas A&M just had this juggernaut of a defense that nobody knew about. Like, hopefully they just had figured everything out, because that offensive line looked god-awful. But, again, the entire Pac-12 looked a little off. I mean, up and down the board. Washington State lost to Portland State, of all teams, and as was said earlier, Oregon did give up a bunch of points. Arizona State loses, Stanford loses, so I think the whole Pac-12 bounces back next week.
We'll have to see. Well, Thursday we'll be back with previewing week 1 of the NFL season. You'll get to finally see our format for that. You'll get to finally have us going down college picks without other stuff being around there, so that'll be fun as well. We'll get to intermingle all this other stuff in there. So, and then of course we'll also have our first Thursday game to talk about with the Patriots in Pittsburgh. Hopefully it's close. Hopefully it's not a blowout or one of those boring, because that's what tends to happen with these Thursday games. It's either a blowout or it's terrible. So hopefully it's in between. But we're all hyped for that season to come. We already had the first week of the college season. We got that game on Monday. Let's everybody enjoy your Labor Day, and we'll be back here soon. Later, everybody.
Yep.